What innocent question has someone asked you that secretly crushed you a little inside? Shortly after my divorce, and about a year after bankruptcy, I ran into a former coworker at the dentist, and we made small talk. She was around when I got married and bought my house, so she asked, how's the house? What about you and hubby? How's married life? Any kids yet? All in rapid succession. Felt like someone punched me in the face, the gut and the ovaries all at once. She was only a minor acquaintance, so I just smiled and said everything's great, no kids yet. Luckily the dental hygienist rescued me from that conversation. My acne was so bad that a coworker asked if I had been in a car accident or something. That one cut deep. I also suffered severe acne in my late teens, early 20s. It really does take a blow at your self-esteem/worth. I hated when random strangers, or even family members, would suggest products or regimens, which BTW never worked. Sometimes when my acne would flare up, I've had people point it out. Obviously I know I'm the one that has to live with it and see it in the mirror every day. As I got older, I realized it wasn't anything externally or in my control, but my unbalanced hormones. Even after the acne disappeared, it took a while for me to get over the fear that everyone is staring at my skin. TL. Doctor, the person knows it's there, leave them alone. This isn't a date, right? Oh man. In high school I went to the movies with a girl who referred to it as a date while we were in the theater, and then when I called it a date later the same night she said this isn't a date. I'd managed to forget about that. When I was unemployed for a little, while it seemed like everyone and their moms asked me, so what do you do for a living? I don't know, I'm lost and confused. When I was unemployed, I avoided every social event. Just an endless sea of so what do you do questions. I always wanted to be honest when someone asked me, however. So, what do you do? Well, John, Mary, I wake up around 1 PM. I usually spend 2 hours just trying to get out of bed because I'm depressed. Then, I usually make some food, jerk myself off, and proceed to surf the net to try and find work. I then proceed to watch movies until about 5:30 AM. That should about cover it. Asked of my friend while I was there. I worked in the back room of a small town food bank with a 89-year-old guy named Andy. He brought his wife Ruth in with him one day, and she sat in a chair for a couple of hours while he worked filling boxes. She had fairly severe Alzheimer's disease and stared vacantly and muttered to herself. When he finished, he walked over to her and offered his hand to her and said, it's time to get going, Ruth. She took his hand and looked up to his face and said in a weak voice, are you the one that I love? I have severe acne scarring. I usually don't think about it. One day I was walking home from the school bus in my JROTC uniform. It's like an army class for high schoolers here in the US. The neighbor's kid and his friend were playing outside, and they said hi. Then I heard them say as I walked away, what happened to his face? He's in the army and a grenade exploded in his face. Oh, makes sense. I find it hilarious cause I never said that, and he legit believed that. But also it made me so much more self-conscious. Are you two dating? I was at a swimming lake with my brother. I was 14. He was 20. We were just playing tag in the water and I tackled him to tag him. This little girl comes up and asks the question. We are taken back by it, but politely answer no. What made it worse though is that several more times she asked, like, are you sure you're not dating? And insisted she saw us kissing. It kind of freaked me out, to be honest, and I felt like I couldn't show affection to my sibling. Edit, I'm a girl, so she wasn't insinuating we were gay. Why do your boobs do that? Referring to the way they angle outward. Followed shortly after with, why do you have big boob nipples on such small tits? F off, Nick. Mine do it too, girl. No shame. Male friend blurted out, why do you have more facial hair than I do? I struggle with PCOS. As someone with PCOS, I feel your pain. People don't realize how shitty it is to deal with. I'm really sorry you have to deal with this. I have to also thank you and IResnever for teaching me, and now evidently us_mania about this syndrome. Great question. I've spent 30 years building a career as a writer. Freelance work has become very lean. since the recession, and I've taken what I can get, including lots of product web descriptions and SEO. The mom of one of my daughter's friends said to me one day, I'd like to go back to work, and I was wondering if you thought I could do what you do with no previous experience. Yes. Damn it, the answer is yes. It sucks to work so hard for 30 years and find yourself back where you started. Career writing is a commodity product. I remember hanging out with friends on I one year and someone innocently was like, let's go around and share the best thing that happened to you this year. I legitimately couldn't think of anything. That hurt. See, I don't have a bad life, but every time someone does a let's do highs and lows, I can't think of anything. Every time when I tell people I'm a mechanical engineering student, they ask me the same question. What year are you in? Every time I die a little inside. God damn it, it's my 6th year of my 3-year bachelor. I know. I'm working on it. Been there, homie. Chin up. It's your journey, no one else's. So, when are you planning on getting a real job? I teach and act as a curriculum consultant for client schools. I work 8:30 to 5 o'clock for 5 days a week. Travel for business on average 2 weekends a month, and spend hours on the road and in classrooms. For all of this, I get salary and benefits, but apparently teaching is not enough of a real job for some people. I used to tutor math for grade school kids. There were a lot of questions like these. My favorites. Mister, did those shoes used to be cool? First grader. Hey, do you think we have the same handwriting? Kindergartner. What's your real job? 4th grader. Have I been asked about my real job too? I'm a contract woodwind teacher, so I go into school 1 day a week to tutor their students, then teach privately outside of that. One of the kids at school asked me what I did as a job. After some careful thinking, we all just figured you did this for fun. I'm lucky it's fun, aren't I? But why do they pay you if you do it for fun? For his own sake, I hope that kid has a wonderful fun career and never finds out exactly how fun trying to convince 6-year-olds to practice their skills is. Every time someone asks what are you doing after college, I always reply, well, I never expected to live that long. Usually derails the conversation enough. So cruel yet so effective. Perfect curveball. Anytime I buy booze and someone asks me if I want a bag, I say no thanks, I'll just drink it in the car. That goes over pretty well. Can you pass the ketchup? This was at a dinner date with a bunch of my friends after they had just planned an awesome trip together and asked everyone if they could come. They asked everybody but me. My cousins did that to me on several occasions. Leaning over me to talk to each other, planning fun events and things to do, deciding who was carpooling with each other, naming each person going, so I knew I wasn't included. Then they'd get up and leave and I'd be left sitting alone. I lived farther away than most, which meant I didn't get together as often, so they just decided I wasn't worth their time. And then my aunt would walk up and scold me for being so antisocial. Getting my eyebrows waxed at the salon. The lady working on me asks, do you want your mustache done too? My mustache? I wasn't aware I had a mustache. Girl, they ask everyone that don't feel bad all about the upsell. Nothing makes you want your mustache waxed more than someone pointing it out and suggesting you remove it. When I was in high school, I was quite weird. My personality was weird, and I had a tall gangly body that I had a poor sense of, making me awkward and bad at sports. I was a 6 feet tall blonde girl without any of the perks. There was a girl on my volleyball team, Jen, who was also my height and had the same length and color hair. We looked very similar. But Jen was adorable. She was cute and quirky and popular, and boys found her sexy. A girl on my team one day asked me why Jen and I looked the same, but the whole tall awkward Taylor Swift thing worked for her, but for me it was just weird. She wanted to know why it was weird for me. Like, I don't know, Jenna, why are you a bitch? We all have questions we don't have answers to. Geez, sorry for asking. My grandma had quite bad Alzheimer's by the time she died and didn't recognize me or any of my cousins anymore. When we got the chance to go and see her, this was like a once every few years occurrence since we lived in different continents. She told my brother he was a lovely handsome young man and asked to hold his hand. Then she looked at me with genuine concern and said, "Is your face okay?" It was super well meaning, and it didn't bother me at the time, but I was a bit crushed later that the last thing I remembered her saying to me before she died was a comment on my acne. But hey, I guess there's something to be said for the fact that she still cared about my well-being, even though I was essentially a stranger to her at this point. Similarly, my best friend's grandmother had Alzheimer's and was 90 plus. She looked at my best friend and told her she was absolutely beautiful, then looked across the room at me and was like, "Who's that man sitting over there?" "I'm a girl." My best friend made a joke out of it and I laughed, but it secretly crushed me inside because I've always been the less attractive between me and my friend, and as much as I know comparing myself to her is no good, I still do sometimes. My best friend doesn't know how much that sucked for me. She just thinks it's a funny memory of her grandmother and I don't want to ruin that for her. Edit. You're on Reddit sometimes. Thanks for all your comments. I know Alzheimer's can seriously mess with people's minds and I just appreciate you guys and your kind words. I've had a pretty shitty few days and I literally feel so much better reading all your comments. Hey, if you made it till the end, then smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. It really does help me. Also, I just recently made another video about experts share the worst thing someone has tried to correct them about, and you need to watch that now because it is too funny. You can do that by clicking on this card right here.